assets at home is actually 34 years old. So it's probably older than you think. And for the first 28 years, it didn't have a PMO. It didn't think it needed a PMO, and it didn't miss it. And that all changed in 2019 when we got a new CIO. And he inherited a department in IT that had bad reputation for slow delivery, change landing badly, and as a result there was a lot of shadow IT. But he knew what the problem was, and he knew how to get the exec to understand the problem. I was in project delivery at the time, and he asked us to create a Kanban board on a wall with a load of post-it notes in a meeting room, everything in flight, everything we were being asked to do. And then he took the exec to the room, and they went, oh, they had an aha moment. Too much work in progress, no prioritisation, and definitely not enough people to deliver everything that they were asking for. As a result of that conversation, our CIO was able to build a business case to recruit an additional 20 people to expand the change team. And he knew he wanted portfolio level PMO, but when he started sounding out the idea of PMO, they went, no, 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 PMO's support for projects, we don't want that. We're a retailer, can't afford that, that's a luxury. So he and the new change director came up with the cunning plan. We won't call it PMO, we'll call it change governance. And they got that role approved. And so I moved into that role in 2020. And fast forward 5 years on, we have a small PMO of 3 people operating at portfolio level. And if we have a big transformation program, we bring in temporary resource that are experts in program management to support that work. And now I'm going to hand over to next I'm going to talk about. Right, so this is a phrase that we have on our wall at work. The most dangerous phrase in our language is we've always done it this way. And I pass this on the stairs every day at work. And so it's relevant because our PMO purpose has evolved to meet the changing needs of the business. My question to you is, how's yours? So 18 months ago, we redefined our purpose. And this is how we got where we got to. So I didn't do this on my own. As a team, we went off-site for half a day. And we went through what we thought our purpose should be and what our vision was for our PMO. So we're in the change function, which is the project managers, business analysis, business change, testing, solution architecture. And we refer to ourselves as the engine for change. So using that analogy of like the service centre, garage, we said if the change team is the engine for change, PMO is the service centre, ensuring it's running effectively, fine-tuning where necessary, and providing early warning about potential hazards ahead. And our vision is to be the single source of truth about the portfolio. And that's our guiding light. If data isn't in our portfolio management tool, we're taking action to try and get it into there. So if I think about running effectively, that's about, are we assigning our resources efficiently? That's about, is our budget allocated well and to the right things? If I'm thinking about fine-tuning where necessary, that's our assurance, that's us providing insights, looking at the bigger picture. And if I think about looking at potential hazards ahead, that's the data that's looking at our landing zones, projects coming into land, into the same community. Is there too much change? Looking at the takeoff view, are we trying to start too many things? Are we going to end up with too much work in progress? As well as looking at dependencies and risks and things like that. So now I'm going to hand over to Niamh.
When we started our reporting journey in 2020, it was the exact same time that we had a change governance team, PMO if you will, and it was the exact same time we were implementing our new PPM tool. It had been bought 12 months prior, but there was no lead to push that over the line. So when we came to start reporting, we weren't trying to be the stereotypical all singing, all dancing reporting function. We just needed people in the habit of doing status reports because they hadn't done that before. So for the first 6 months, our entire focus was getting status reports done by Wednesday at 12. That was it. It was still a lot, but that's what we were trying to do. Get that data into Keyed In and start getting deliverables in and building on that. Once we got people using Keyed In, we wanted to standardise our reporting. We had 3 different portfolios, so we have our vets, our retail, and then support office. They were all reporting in different ways. One was taking hard copies of all the status reports and sharing them. One was making PMs do their status reports and do a manual PowerPoint that needed to be updated every fortnight. It was a lot. The third one swears they were doing something. It was before my time, and it's not in the archive, so the verdict's out. But we sat down with our leads and went, what do you need? What do your exec want? And once we could get that right, we could start pulling that information from our status reports and preparing them a deck using that information. It was a copy and paste job, but there was no manual updates for PMs. Once we got there, it meant we could automate our reporting then. So it will play. We can now, with our PPM tool, we automated it. So at the click of exactly 2 buttons, 3 if you need to refresh, we can pull all of our reports. So this is our IT leadership report, our vets report. So we're using the exact same data that PMs put in, and we could cut it different ways to go to the different exec meetings, whether that be retail or vets. The problem we found then, 17 PMs each did a status report, and it read as if 17 people had each written a sentence. That's not what exec want to read. They want a cohesive report that works well. So that led us to driving the consistent tone of voice. We started by putting more information in. If we just give them all the deliverables, maybe it'll look better. It didn't. So instead, we worked with our PPM tool to update our status reports. We really narrowed down the fields in our status report. Instead of an update on the project, it was a reasoning for your RAG status. Give us your path to green. What are your key risks? And when we were able to call out them specific information pieces we want, and we coached our PMs with guidance, we got a much more cohesive tone of voice. And it gave us confidence in our reporting, particularly our automated ones. We didn't have to go through and do the manual edits all the time, and that meant we had the confidence to then do dashboards. We have lost a video.
No, I think the video went on.
It did. Great. It's going well. We have dashboards. Can't see them. So when they work, our PPM tool, we can use that information to drive our meetings, and it's the exact same information we're then pulling in an automated report. So we're using them for our in-flights. So it's the exact same consistent message going to every meeting. It's also brilliant for them PMs that didn't get in the habit of doing their status reports on time, because if you're in a meeting and the data's wrong because nobody looked over it, they're all of a sudden messaging on Teams going, can you just refresh your screen? I've just done the updates. So all of a sudden they got into a better habit because they knew they didn't have that control of when people were accessing the information. We loved our dashboards. They were great. They gave people real-time data, but we couldn't go and give access to the wider business to our PPM tool. It would be a lot of licenses. It also isn't what people are used to accessing. Our colleagues in store are used to using Power BI. So that's where we started, a video that works. That's where we started using Power BI. So what you can see on screen is our map dashboard. So this shows all of our rollouts that we're rolling to store locations, groom rooms, and vets for area managers to see, store managers to see what's coming their way, but also project managers can see, are we delivering too much change at the same time? Are we doing 2 projects in the same week? Could we combine them or slow them down? And that brings us to this year, where we're now looking at reporting for the wider team. So we're much better at reporting to our chain of command, to other people in IT, but for them wider business areas, so your operations teams, your risk teams, even InfoSec, where we've got things that hit GDPR, we're now looking at reporting much sooner because we've got all these automated reports. It's only 2 clicks of a button to give that information to wider teams much sooner. So our big takeaway for you is taking the step to automate can help you inform the process. If we didn't automate our reports, we wouldn't have known that our status reports weren't quite right. And PMO can be the single source of truth for beyond change delivery. We're now working with our BAU teams, we're working with area managers. It doesn't just need to be for IT.